Good evening, everyone. Welcome everyone here to the forum meeting tonight. It's a question and answer forum. The decision making will be undertaken at the ordinary council meeting next Wednesday evening. We'll move on to opening procedures. We'll do the acknowledgement of country, item 2.1. I acknowledge we acknowledge the continuing connection of Aboriginal people to country, culture and community, and embrace the vast Aboriginal cultural diversity throughout Australia on the land of the Balgong Noongar and Whadjuk Noongar people. Where we meet, we acknowledge and pay respect to elders past and present. 2.2, recording of council meetings. Members of council and members of the gallery are advised that this meeting will be live streamed and audio recorded and made available on the Shire of Northam's YouTube channel. If members of the public want to access the recording of this meeting, they can do so via the Shire of Northam website. I'll now go through item 3, which is the attendance. In terms of the councillors around the table, we have Councillor Williams on my left, Councillor Hughes. I'm the Deputy President at the moment, Jill Mancelli. Councillor Durack is on my right, and Councillor Lisa Biglin on my right as well. In terms of staff, we have the Chief Executive Officer, Ms Terrelink, Executive Manager Engineering Services, Mr Devsich, Executive Manager Development Community Services, Mr Hunt, Executive Manager Corporate Services, Mr Streets, Manager Governance and Risk, Ms McCall, Governance and Risk Officer, Ms Blase. Sorry, Mr Farnsworth is present today. I didn't see you sneak in, I'm sorry. Okay, apologies, 3.2. The President, and Chris Antonio, is absent only for the forum tonight. Item 3.3, approved leave of absence, there's nil. 3.4, absent, nil. Oh, sorry. Councillor Ryan is not present at the moment, but we anticipate he'll arrive in the next 10 minutes. Item 4, disclosures of interest. I have a shed full here at the moment. First one relates to Councillor Williams. Item 13.3.2, proposed scheme amendment 25, omnibus amendment. I co-own a property in Wundowie affected by the proposed zoning changes. Item 13.4.3, fees and charges 2026-27. I'm an executive member of Bakers Hill Progress Association who lease the Bakers Hill Rec Centre and receive the fees and charges raised, and we are a not-for-profit organisation. I have another disclosure here from Councillor Durack. Item number 13.1.3, lease of Morby Cottage and the former Mayor's Parlour. Sorry, those interests for Councillor Williams are proximity for the first one, and the other one was impartiality, sorry. In the case of Councillor Durack, 13.1.3, lease of Morby Cottage and the former Mayor's Parlour. It's an impartiality interest. Members of the Historical Society are known to me. And item 13.3.3, future direction of the visitor servicing, and that's an impartiality. And Councillor Durack knows members of the Noongar Cultural Advisory Group, Avon Valley Arts Society and Northern Army Camp Association. And and she's also a council representative and member of NACHA. Councillor Hughes. has an interest in item 13.1.3, lease of Morby Cottage and former Mayor's Parlour. Some of the members of the Northern Historical Society are known to me, and that's an impartiality interest. Councillor Biglan, item 14.1, application under CP 29 rates. This is the confidential item.
Could you read that out?
Yeah, sorry, I'll read that out later when we traverse that particular topic. And I have a declaration myself, item 13.1.3, lease of Morby Cottage and former Mayor's Parlour. It's an impartiality interest. Members of the Historical Society are known to me. And item 13.3.3, future directions of visitor servicing. I have an impartiality interest in that. Members of the Nyungo Cultural Advisory Group are known to me, and I actually chair that particular forum. They're all the declarations at the moment.
I've got one more.
Oh, you got another one?
Well, the arts, Emily Art Society.
You'll hand that form through eventually.
Give it back.
Oh, sorry. With that. Right. We'll get to that on. Item 5, sorry. Announcements by the presiding member without discussion is item number 5. I'll now go to item 6, which is public question. And I believe we have some public questions. Before we launch into that, I'd like to read out a statement in relation to the procedures. We have now reached public question time on this evening's agenda. Before we proceed, I wish to outline the procedure that apply. Under the Local Government Act 1995, time is to be allocated for questions to be raised by members of the public at every ordinary meeting of council. A minimum of 15 minutes is allocated for this purpose in accordance with the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996. Council may, by resolution, agree to extend public question time beyond the minimum 15 minutes under the Standing Order Amendments Local Law 2018. The following procedures apply. First dot point, members of the public wishing to ask a question are to state their name and suburb. Second dot point, each person is entitled to ask up to 2 questions before others are invited to ask theirs and has 2 minutes to submit a question. Dot point 3, each person is to be given an equal and fair opportunity to ask their question and receive a response. Dot point 4, a question may be taken on notice, in which case a written response will be provided and a summary included in the next ordinary meeting agenda. Dot point number 5, the council is not required to answer a question that does not relate to a matter affecting the local government. Written questions. The Shire has received 38 written questions from Miss Amber Balfour Cunningham for this meeting. Under clause 6.7(6) of the Standing Orders Amendment Local Law 2018, where a member of the public provides written questions, the presiding member may elect for those questions to be responded to as normal business correspondence. Given the volume of written questions received, I am exercising that discretion. The CEO will ensure a written response is provided to Ms. Balfour Cunningham. Oral questions. Public question time is now open for members of the public present who wish to ask a question. Please raise your hand and when called upon, come to the microphone, state your name and address before asking your question. First off, I'd like to call Mr. Cobus Newald, please. Yes, please.
Sorry, wait a second. Yes. Yes. I believe this relates to the omnibus amendment, is that correct? Yes.
Sorry, Councillor Williams, should have woken up to that one. Yes, Mr. Newald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is in relation to item 13.3.2, the proposed scheme amendment, omnibus amendment, number 25. I have two questions to ask. My first question is, with respect to the proposed omnibus amendment number 25, and specifically those proposals that involve the rezoning of privately owned land, including but not limited to the proposal affecting lots 3 to 22, number 126, Burlong Road. Has the Shire advised whether any consultation was undertaken with the affected landowners prior to the inclusion of their land in the amendment? And if not, why not?
Okay. Can I call on the Executive Manager Development Services to speak to that, please?
Yeah, I can answer that. My understanding is there was conversations with the previous owners of the property. I think the property has changed hands recently. So yeah, there was some discussions initially last year sometime. So yeah, again, as part of the advertising of the amendment, the landowner get opportunity to make a submission, etc. Provided that council resolves to continue with including that parcel of land in the amendment at this stage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. My second question is, should the proposed rezoning of lots 5 to 22, number 126 Burlong Road from residential R10 to rural residential proceed, those lots would each be approximately 1,000 square metres in area, well below the 1 to 4 hectare minimum lot size prescribed for the rural residential zone under Table 2 of Local Planning Scheme number 6. Given that the Shire cannot compel the landowner to amalgamate the lots that hold individual certificates of title, can the Shire explain how it intends to apply the rural residential development standards, including setbacks of 15 metres to the front, 10 metres to the rear and 10 metres to the sides, to lots of this size, and whether any consideration has been given to the practical development implications for the landowner?
Yeah, I can answer that one, and we'll probably discuss it when the actual item comes up for consideration tonight. I'm sure there'll be some other questions from the elected members about it. I guess this is a fairly unique situation. There is some land that's included in those lots that is currently zoned reserved for recreation. So there's some that technically aren't developable at this stage. I guess the rezoning as proposed at the moment was to give some flexibility in terms of some development on those sites as well. But yeah, there is some practical issues, and that's not isolated to these particular land parcels. A lot of land along Burlong Road is currently zoned residential within the floodplain. It's issued with effluent disposal, so I guess the rezoning was looking to have a way forward with future redevelopment. But again, as I say, that issue will be discussed a bit further tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor will join the meeting at 5:45.
Yeah, sorry.
Excused. Right, thank you very much, Mr. Newell. Patricia Jones, I believe you may have a question that you'd like to ask. If you'd like to come to the microphone and state your name and where you live. Oh, sorry. Can we recall Julie, please? Yes, can I have the declaration, please, Steve? Welcome back, Councillor Williams. Right, Mrs. Jones.
I'm just curious about the Peel Terrace Bridge. Are there any immediate plans to fill the gaps on the bridge? Because I was walking across there the other day and because as you're driving, boom, 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 I can actually fit my foot lengthwise into some of those gaps. And I just wondered, will they get fixed anytime soon?
Okay, I'll take that question on notice and defer to our Executive Manager Engineering Services, Mr. Devcich.
Thanks for the question. So the actual bridge itself does require some structural upgrades. That's so that the Shire undertook level 1 inspections at the end of 2024. That feedback was passed on to Main Roads. Main Roads will be the funder of those works under the replacement programs. What we will do though, if those are specific to the actual pavement, the driving surface, I can have officers out there tomorrow on an inspection of the pavement, and if there's any immediate danger, we'll address it accordingly.
Yes, no worries.
Just walk up or the driving?
No, the driving surface. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's kind of like, it sounds a bit like when you're going on the train and it goes boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, the stand influenced by the sound. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions? Would you please state your name and suburb, please?
Yeah, Amber Northern. I just have one question
Senator.
about the meeting. Regarding the 7-metre tall data centre being built at Avon West at Yilgarn Ave, as a reasonable person, I assume this development will cost over $2 million. I was just wondering if it's gone through a development assessment panel.
I'll defer to the Executive Manager Development Services for that one, Mr. Hunt.
I'll take that question on
Notice.
notice. I haven't even raised it at the moment.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? No? If not, we'll move right on. Item number 7, response to previous public questions taken on notice, nil. Item number 8, receiving of petitions, presentations and deputations. As far as I know, there's no petitions, there's no presentations. I believe there could be a deputation. If that's the case, I'll call the gentleman to the microphone, Mr. Newell. And this relates to the, Councillor Williams is leaving the chamber. Second time. Mr. Newell, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really appreciate the opportunity to address the forum this afternoon. I'll keep this brief and focused. My name is Curtis Nevo. I'm a consultant town planner and the principal of Hinterland Urban and Regional Planning Consultants based here in Northern. I appear today on behalf of Mr. Cliff Strong, the sole director of Seaform Development, which is the project management principal and intellectual property holder for the development of 20 lots known as 126 Burlong Road, Northern, lots 3 through 22. The registered proprietor of the land is Long West Enterprises Pty Limited. I'm here to address one specific element of the proposed Omnibus Amendment number 25. The proposal to rezone all 20 of these lots to rural residential. I respectfully request that Council remove the Burlong Road proposal from the Omnibus Amendment in its entirety. I want to be upfront about something. Neither the landowner nor the project principal had any prior knowledge that this rezoning was being contemplated. They were not consulted, not notified, and not given any opportunity to discuss the future of the land with the Shire again before this proposal appeared on the public agenda. I think I would just like to add here that, following Mr. Hunt's response, I'm advised by my client that there had been no discussion with the Shire, prior by the former owner. I only discovered it myself while preparing a separate planning analysis for the site earlier this week. For parties who have invested significantly in this site and are actively progressing a development concept for it, that came as a considerable shock. I want to stress that we are not opposed to the Omnibus Amendment as a whole. We understand its purpose and we recognise the value of the Shire keeping Local Planning Scheme number 6 current and aligned with the local planning strategy. Our concern is solely with the inclusion of 126 Burlong Road. There are 3 reasons why we say the Burlong Road proposal should be removed. Firstly, there is a substantive development proposal for this site that is well advanced. Mr. Strawn has engaged Design Studio, a Perth-based architectural practice, to prepare a concept design and master plan for the site. The project proposes a private eco-housing precinct of approximately 15 to 20 dwellings based on Seaform's node system, a high thermal mass building platform that integrates rooftop solar, battery storage, EV-ready infrastructure, and coordinated energy management into the dwelling itself. The homes are designed to target 9-star energy ratings and beyond, with the potential for carbon neutral or carbon negative outcomes. This is not a conventional residential subdivision. It is an innovative housing and energy precinct designed to deliver high-performance, diverse regional housing with a scalable and a replicable model. Real money has been committed and professional services engaged on the strength of the existing residential zoning. A rural residential zoning would be entirely incompatible with this vision and would effectively sterilise the site. Secondly, there is an internal inconsistency with the Omnibus Amendment itself. Within the same Amendment number 25, the Shire proposes to upcode lots on Catrine Road and Springfield Road from R15 to R30. The officer report for those lots state, and I'm paraphrasing, that the ground levels have been substantially increased through filling that were as given in principle support for increasing residential density, and that this is appropriate for key worker accommodation. The Burlong Road site is in the western end of Northern, subject to the same flood constraints, and the proponent has expressed the same intention to raise ground levels through filling. Yet, this land is proposed to be downzoned from residential to rural residential, while other flood-affected land is being upzoned. We respectfully submit that this inconsistency needs to be resolved, and it cannot be resolved within the confines of an omnibus amendment. Thirdly, this proposal warrants its own process. An omnibus amendment is, by its nature, a vehicle for administrative corrections and minor adjustments that don't individually warrant separate amendments. The rezoning of 20 privately owned lots from residential to rural residential, particularly where the landowner and project principal have an active development proposal, is not an administrative correction. It has material planning and financial consequences, and it deserves a process that allows for proper engagement, technical assessment, and consideration of alternatives. We are not asking Council to approve an alternative zoning today. We are asking Council to recognise that the Burlong Road proposal should not be bundled into an omnibus amendment without the knowledge or input of the parties with a direct interest in the land, and that it should be removed so it can be dealt with through a separate process, one that allows meaningful engagement with the Shire and relevant agencies on the future of the site. If Council is willing to remove the Burlong Road proposal from the omnibus, Mr. Strawn and the landowner are committed to approaching the Shire proactively to discuss the vision for the site and to work collaboratively towards an appropriate planning outcome. We believe a more bespoke zoning approach with site-specific conditions tailored to form eco-housing concept may be the right and preferable path. But that is a conversation we want to have with your planning staff, not impose from the gallery. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to take any questions when the item comes up for discussion later.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
Newell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hunt, got a comment? No? We'll discuss it later.
Sure, I can. Be patient though.
Yeah. All right. Recall, Councillor Williams. Are there any further deputations from the floor? No? Welcome back, Councillor Williams. Right, we'll move on to item number 9, which is applications for leave of absence. The first one there relates to a leave of absence request by Councillor Gerac from the 4th of July to the 31st of July. Is there any questions on that? If not, we'll move on. The second one is another one from Councillor Hughes. I shouldn't have said another
What
one.
do you mean another?
You've asked for leave from the 21st of July to the 28th of July inclusive. Are there any questions from the table around that? No? Okay, we'll move right on. Okay, we move on to item 10, confirmation of minutes. Item 10.1, confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting held on the 22nd of April 2026. There's a recommendation there. Are there any questions pertaining to that particular? No, if not, we'll move on to the next one. Item 10.2, turn your microphone on, can't hear me. Item 10.2, confirmation of minutes from the special council meeting held on the 13th of May 2026. Is there any question on that? If not, I'll move right on. Item 10.3, notes from the council forum meeting held on the 20th of May. We won't be discussing that because that'll be up next week. Okay, we'll move right on. Item number 11, items brought forward for the convenience of those in the public gallery. Yeah, I'll bring forward the omnibus amendment, item 13.3.3. Sorry, Councillor Williams. Sorry, I've given you the wrong number. It's 13.3.2. Page 335. Mr. Farnworth, thank you very much. You were speaking to that particular item.
So I suppose I can explore the omnibus amendment and answer and speak to the deputation we have received, because I think it helps contextualise the process. So effectively, the omnibus amendment has been coming for some time, and it has, I can't remember how long, but it's probably been 3 years of slow accumulation of items that needed to be fixed. Most of those things are about compliance with current legislation, and specifically the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulations 2015, which has gone through a succession of significant amendments into what they call the deemed provisions and the model provisions. And essentially, long story short, the West Australian Planning Commission likes consistency, likes all its schemes across the state to use the same language, use the same colours, and apply the same planning methodology approach. So, in relation to LPS 6, it's been around for a little while, 2013. It's a very traditional, conventional scheme, perfectly solid, but it has not kept pace with those adjustments, and they're worth fixing. Along with that is a relatively small handful of private properties that, over time, through engagement with landowners, has come to the Shire's office's attention that the zonings or reservations were incorrect to begin with. Consequently, as officers have noted that and collected it and collated that information, it has gone into the report and scheme amending maps. And they've been paired over time. This particular proposal, that was even sitting in front of the landowner only in the beginning of this year, and I didn't know anything about it. So at that time, the landowner had brought this to our attention, that the landowner at that time, this site, had obviously signalled an intention to move towards a single consolidated rural residential zone, which would enable them and to remove the public open space reservation, the Parks and Recs reserve, enable, and the road reserve as well. I'll get into the specifics of it, but it's a bit of a quirky site that may have made sense a long time ago, but given that she owned the land to the left, the brown stuff, which is Parks and Rec, consolidating that at the end of that road into a single zoning was going to give her the best flexibility approach. And that was the intention when it originally signalled, probably some 20 months ago or more, and certainly what we heard from her in around February, late February, when we sat down and she had put it on the market. She was talking about it. So this is just one of those sites that things have moved on, and the reality isn't aligning with now what we've only learned today is a very different intention. I'll just get a bit closer. Here we go. So as you can see, it's made up of many little blocks of land. And as Curtis has said, I think there's 1,000 square metres roughly each on average. There's also a road in there. I'll show you where that's in a minute. And you can see that the horse track, the salmon pink thing, whatever you do with that, I don't know about what it is. I'm still new to the country. It clearly it sort of sticks out there, and she has historically used and developed her land as one site. So that's why we answered the call to standardise it. And some of it's not quite accessible. There'll be road reserves you'll see that properties theoretically haven't got a road to them yet. So that's the thing. Now, obviously, what's happened is it's gone to market as a whole lot, and as Mr. Coase has explained, We now learnt that there is an intention from a medium to larger scale developer who has the capital and the plan and the concepts to do something a bit more ambitious. So getting it a little bit closer. Okay, so this is the scheme as we see it today, and you can see the air photo underneath, and you can see why we were going, oh, that's a little bit wonky, and that awkward shaped Parks and Recreation Reserve there is private land. It's part of the whole. So essentially, the cutout on the bottom right-hand side is what's in the Omnibus Amendment, and it, as I said, was to simply standardise and make it consistent with the zoning on the left, given it shared the constraints predicted particularly, and hadn't been actually subdivided with houses on it at the stage the farm did. So, what's that mean? Just like the gentleman who saw me yesterday from Grass Valley, who runs the post office there, the Omnibus Amendment had a slight little had a solution for a block of land next to the post office, still runs the post office. He has a reserve as well, but he owns the land, freehold, and the zoning that was nominated for him, which simply in the list when it was reported at the time, isn't aligning with his needs now. And he came in and saw me, and I suggested to him, no problem, we can fix it. And we discussed two different options he liked, and he can make a submission, and that way I can log, track, and account for each and everything in a controlled manner and accountably, so you can see who's asked me for what and what corrections we've made. And so the two ways forward are we can eliminate this specific site from the Omnibus Amendment. The alternative is we can simply get a submission. There's two ways to go on that. Given that this is not sounding, and I'm only hearing it now, given that there is an ambitious plan that may not be conventional, and that the description of bespoke controls suggests not a standard zoning, it may sound like it's a bit more difficult to just make a simple submission and say to us, "Don't like it," or "No, keep it residential, keep it R10, get rid of the park, and we'll keep the zone we've got." That was what I was expecting. If that's not what they want to do, then absolutely draft it. So back to the item, lying back up again into the bigger picture of the item. Most of the map changes you'll see, and there's quite a significant number of maps in there, most of them will be and the bulk of the land affected by reservations is Crown land, most of it. So we didn't expect many of these to come up, barely a handful, so this obviously one is a thing we've discovered and we can handle that. I'd like to finish with, we expect that an omnibus has taken some time. You've got to stop, you've got to call last drinks and get it out there and make it happen, because it just keeps going on and on and on. We fully expected this. We knew that by going out there and saying, this is what we're proposing to do, were we right when you last talked to us 2-3 years ago? We knew that there would be people go, oh, hang on, you missed me, or hang on, that's not exactly right. So that's exactly what we're asking for, to do it. We also are aware that Tempest Plan is a couple of the universities have rationalised blocks of land, and there's some significant education side, rural type spaces that could go into a rural zone away from public purpose reserve. So we expect there'll be a couple more like this, we anticipate, and in most cases we really do welcome submission to get it right and get it down.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Yeah, what's the thought of dropping this one from the plan? I know you gave two options, but what's the best one?
I don't want to speak, I don't have a preference. I don't think, both are fine, both are safe. If the applicant was pursuing something that was predictable, conventional, standard residential development at R10, and all they wanted us to do was to just keep their current zoning. They probably would like us to lift the Parks and Rec bit and make that residential as well, of course, which we want to do. That's the big thing, to get that off. We also like to zone the road there that clearly should be zoned as well. So we're trying to help them. If they just wanted to do residential at that density, then what I would today, don't go and do a second amendment, because that's a whole process to do it again, do a land all up. It's a whole statutory process again. I would do it now, if that was the case. However, if there was, for example, a proposal to do, say, a special use zone, something a little bit left the field, a bit unusual, if that is the case, then that's probably too big a conversation to have. It's not, I wouldn't compare this to the other site where we had the R30 increase. That's closer into the township. It's in walking distance. This site is at the very end of that urban footprint, the very distal end of it. So it's they're not comparable sites. So I probably would suggest if it's going to be a little bit complicated and they're going to they don't want to do things that are not conventional, not in accordance with the residential zone, then I would suggest maybe just take it out and talk later if that's fair to do.
All right, sorry, can I suggest that we'll get Mr. Yuo to talk to our planners at the moment, if we can provide some further advice to the council for next week's meeting, yeah.
Councillor Bigelow?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple of questions. Question one is, you rightly showed us a diagram before of what it looks like. I did go on and find a few. I'm assuming potentially that this is one of the ones for Mondawi. Is it possible to give us these type of diagrams as opposed to the maps where it's just all, grey areas, so I can understand exactly what I'm looking at as opposed to just squares?
Something a bit more like that.
Well, I have printed some off myself. I went on to Landgate and looked for several of them, but there's quite a few of them that don't actually have. I couldn't find anything to match it. So if I go back into, I've got a whole heap highlighted, and this was actually one of them that when I put into Landgate, I couldn't find it. So obviously I didn't have the right reserve number or the lot number that was associated with them because it's.
Yes, I agree with you. When you interrogate Landgate, Plan WA, our own internet mapping, Synergy, you will find potentially 4 different property identities. And essentially what I have done is reached for the data that is the consistent across. So if I can see a reserve number is shared across records and they dispute the lot and the residential number, I go with the thing that appears the most time to get you the closest.
I understand that, but I like to see it visually, and I certainly don't have the time to go around and look at all those lots or try and find them in my own time. But I know what you're trying to change.
Sweet. With the scheme mapping at the back, it covers the entire shire and there's a significant amount of land.
I'm just talking about the ones that you have highlighted in.
If you want to give me your highlighted ones, I can probably turn around and give you the mapping, the cadasters, the zoning, doing similar to what I've done on this side.
It's just these ones in here that you're actually tabled.
Would you like to do?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and similar to the kind of material I've shown on the site.
Yes, please. Yes, thank you. My second question is, can you clarify that the amendment, the Omnibus Amendment, won't unintentionally impact or change the original planning intent, zoning outcomes, development controls or future approvals relating to Scheme Amendment 21, the Elcobello Glencoe Resort proposal that was brought forward, and the Chidaring Road precedent or the proposed lifestyle village?
Okay, so the question was, so the Elcobello Resort, the Aston Lifestyle Village, and the Chidaring Road, the large scale rural res.
Amendment 21 that went through in Mondawi town site 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Okay, I'll just check in what the Mondawi town site one was. The 3 sites you've just described are not in this amendment.
I understand that, but will the changes affect the potential, what they can do with them?
No,
They're totally separate and they can't be
totally
changed?
separate. So we're quite aware of that, and
Yes.
indeed, if you actually check through the documents, you'll see there is a sheet that has the Elcabella site in it. That was initiated as a standalone amendment, as you know,
Yes.
and that
It's for the general public to understand
yeah.
the right question.
So the omnibus was going to take care of it, and then the new buyer came forward and then had a bigger vision, and that's why it travelled quicker and its own standalone amendment. So we have had to make changes right up to the last minute to get things in and out. I can confidently tell you that there is nothing in those three amendments that would be undone or changed or modified. Now, to the Wundowie town site question.
It was to do with the Amendment 21, STEM Amendment 21.
Oh, the rural town site?
Town site.
Yeah, no, not affected by this.
That introduced, sorry, so the rural town site zone, which is a really super useful zone, and we intend to actually roll it out. The gentleman who runs the post office, our first person who wants it. That was introduced for use, for employment, but we've never really dropped it onto the map. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. No, further questions?
I think Mr. Newbold wanted to say that.
No, you can't. Unfortunately, you can't. He's already had his turn. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Newell.
Through the chair, Mr. Newell brings the plans that he spoke about, and my boss has explained. If he brings in those well-developed plans, then we'll know what we're talking about. We can give him the best advice through the week.
Thank you very much, Mr. Farnworth. No further questions at this point? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for that presentation. And I believe this item will be looked at next week at the OCM. And from that day on, people have got, what, 42 days to lodge submissions. Is that correct?
Once it goes through the process. Yeah, that's going to be sent to advertise.
Oh, yeah, okay. But yeah, this is just the start of the whole process. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move right on. Councillor Williams. Yeah. Anyone wishing to leave the gallery may leave if they wish. If not, they can stay and enjoy some of our hospitality later. Thank you very much.
CEO's office. Oh,
Thank you very much. Right, we'll move to item 12, reports of committee meetings. Now we go to item 13, officer reports. Item 13.1, CEO's office. 13.11, policy reviews, governance and risk rates, building and health. And there is a recommendation at page 20. Are there any questions pertaining to that particular recommendation? I sense no. Okay. Move right on. Move on to item 13.1.2, which starts on page 88. This is the delegation authority one. There's a recommendation on page 92. Are there any questions relating to that? No?
I just have one question. Mr. Deputy President, it was in regards to delegation 1.2.17, and it just in the
council condition on this delegation section, it says the total consideration under point B. 1, the total consideration under this resulting contract is 500,000 or less. Was this 500,000 before? I just recall it was 300 in the past.
Yes, so it was 500 for the current financial year. I think in the year prior it changed from 250 to 500,000.
I apologize. Recall the previous year.
Are there any further questions in relation to that item? Not, we'll move right on. The next item is 13.1.3, and I do have some declarations in relation to this, which I probably should read out. Councillor Hughes, 13.1.3, lease of Morby Cottage and former Mayor's Parlour. Some of the members of the Northern Historical Society are known to me. 13.1.3, Councillor Girac, same item, lease of Morby Cottage and the former Mayor's Parlour. She has an impartiality interest, as does Councillor Hughes. Members of the Historical Society are known to me, and I also have a declaration in regard to that item. Lease of Morby Cottage and former Mayor's. Okay. I have an impartiality interest. Members of the Historical Society are known to me, and Councillor Ryan is in the process of completing the form, which will be in front of me very, very shortly. Okay. Rightio. In terms of that particular item, it starts at page 300, and there's a recommendation at page 309.
So council originally considered this matter, I believe, in 2023, which was essentially proposing to transition both the Morby Cottage and Town Hall to licence agreements. So in discussion with the Historical Society, they have indicated a preference to retain Morby Cottage as a lease agreement. Officers said this in the context of the policy and supportive of continuing under that arrangement, and essentially the report's proposing to revoke the previous decision, which was transitioning it to a licence, which will enable the CEO to then exercise the current renewal option under the existing lease, which is in a holdover period at the moment, and then proposing to renew or enter into a new agreement for the Town Hall, which the previous lease covered the Mayor's Parlour. However, there are a couple of additional spaces which are used, so we're proposing to also capture those into the licence agreement so it's clear on who uses what space moving into the future. So in terms of the licence not being done under delegation, officers are proposing to waiver some of the fees which would ordinarily be applicable under the lease policy to keep consistent with other leasing licensing arrangements for similar community organisations.
Thank you very much. And as indicated earlier, Councillor Ryan has indicated he has an interest in this particular item, 13.1.3, lease of Morby Cottage and the former Mayor's Parlour. It's impartiality. Members of the Northern Districts Historical Society are known to me. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Okay, there's an item, sorry.
One question
sorry.
that item about the occupation of the areas in the town hall. So the previously occupied areas will be falling under the license what the Historical Society was using in the past, or the
so the previous lease covered the Mayor's Parlour. However, since liaising with the Historical Society in relation to the rate books, I've become aware of other areas being used, so we want to formalise that arrangement in a licence agreement so it's used, so it's captured, so that it's obviously clear it's on the leasing register who uses what space. Thank you.
So there's a recommendation at page 309. Are there any further questions in relation to that particular item? If not, we'll move right on. Okay, move on to engineering. Sorry. Oh, 13.1.4 on page 310. Change of July 2026 council meeting dates, and there's a recommendation on page 313. Are there any questions relating to that? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Rightio, now we get on to item 13.2, engineering services. There's nothing in that area at this point in time. Development and community services, item 13.3, starts on page 314, 13.3.1, page 314, review of local planning policy, 23. There's a recommendation on page 319. I don't think anyone's declared an interest in that one. No. Are there any questions in relation to that particular recommendation? Move right on. Item 13.3.2, page 335 is where it starts, and there's a recommendation on pages 341 through to 347. We've just done it. Yeah, we brought that forward. Can I just make a comment on that one? On page 347, there's a correction required to the wording to clause number 5. It's just a minor one. Yeah, it refers to the word minimum, and there's also an as where there should be an a. So if they can be corrected, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay, done. 13.3.3, future direction of visitor servicing, sorry, at BKB. That starts at page 437, and there's a recommendation at page 446. Are there any questions in relation to that particular item? No?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, there were some declarations on that one. Yeah, there's some. Yeah, Councillor Hughes, item 13.3.3, future direction of visitor servicing. I'm a member of the AVAS and Shire rep to the AVAS, okay. 13.3.3, Councillor Girac. Future directions of visitor servicing, as impartiality, members of the Nyungar Cultural Advisory Group, Avon Valley Art Society and the Northern Army Camp Heritage Association, NARCHA, are known to me, and I am a council representative and member of NARCHA. And I've declared an interest on that as well. Item 13.3.3, future and direction of visitor servicing, once again, impartiality, members of the Nyungar Cultural Advisory Group are known to me. And that's it. Right, are there any questions? Councillor Hughes.
Yes. Is there any idea what's going to happen with the display at the visitor centre?
No, so essentially what we're looking to do is to make, the council to make this decision first, and then we can look at what the various options are, because obviously currently AVAS has a display or have artworks in there, and NARCHA has a display in there as well. So once this decision is made, and I think it's noted in the recommendation, that we'll then investigate the future use of the centre. We expect there'll be quite a bit of interest in. We expect there'll be quite a bit of interest in what it gets used for next, if council makes a decision about a change.
Okay, thanks for that. No further question? Yeah. Councillor Trey.
Yes, thank you. I'm just wondering, the intention, the Shire's intention is to, for the future, to pass on the management of Big Heavy. If that will be the case, what will be the future of servicing visitors? Would that be still carried out in a manner which is appropriate for our tourists?
I think it's fair to say at this point in time, we don't see the potential management of the BKB transferring anytime soon. We have had some preliminary discussions, but organisations we've had discussions with have said they're really not in a position to do anything with that for at least a couple of years. Bearing in mind that the intention is that the BKB would remain in the ownership of the Shire, which is probably particularly important given that we receive grant funding. So we're only really looking at the management responsibilities. And I think if we were having those conversations, there's certainly opportunities for the visitor servicing to also form part of that ongoing management of the BKB, because I think it provides some really good opportunities for upskilling and having that kind of cross-section of people involved in both the BKB and visitor servicing in the future. Yeah.
Are there any further questions in relation to the recommendation on
sorry. So with the branding side of things, note that we're going to be, and I'm pleased to see that we're going to be keeping the Julia Coolpitcher Centre name just in terms of visitor centre branding, how we're going to integrate that centre.
Yes, so really the intention is to still keep probably the I, that's the visitor centre, and that's all we've done in the interim is just have that banner out the front. But the predominant branding will continue to be BKB, Billy Coolpitcher. It's not intended to just kind of switch the branding so that the branding becomes more of a visitor centre. The intention is to keep it as Billy Coolpitcher with visitor servicing offered from that facility.
Are there any further questions? Not, we'll move right on to the next item on page 447, and this is in relation to the WA Native Title Settlement Land List 1810, and there's a recommendation on page 451. Are there any questions pertaining to this one? Councillor Williams.
In the attachment that's answering the questions from DPLH, number 9 is asked about what's happening with the land. The land appears to have been leased for a number of years. Wondering if that is still being leased and if it's being leased to residents, or what would actually happen if it is being leased, whoever it's being leased to, if the land is transferred, please.
Yeah, I'm not aware of if it's still in a lease period. We can check with the Department of Planning, Land and Heritage. It's being leased by somebody running horses on land, but can't get any horses on the property.
Are there any further questions?
It's just the land at Grass Valley, that's very close to the town side, and it's cleared. There's no Shire plan for the future that it may be required for the Grass Valley downside.
In the local planning strategy, it does suggest it should be could be rezoned to a rural town site, which would allow for further development for basically for housing, etc.
Is that in the omnibus provisions at the moment or not? No.
I believe if it is, it would only be the change in the naming. So yeah, any proposal to change it from the reserve would require separate approval process to go through council and the West Australian Planning Commission.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Tony.
Question, Deputy President.
Yes.
Just with regards to the grass area, how was this parcel of land identified as being required to be included in the proposal? You know,
In terms of the proposal, in terms of the native title settlement,
yeah.
The Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage have gone through any managed or uninvested reserves throughout the state, and they're slowly working their way through it. One of many that we've had over the last 5 years. So that's just a process that the Department of Planning is working through.
Thanks for that. Any further questions?
There's one. Can it be taken out? Can we say we'd like to keep that one, that little block? But it's very close to the town.
Yes, the decision can be made this week.
Yeah, it can be.
Yes.
It's possible.
Well, I think we have rejected some in the past, haven't we?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we have, yeah, out at Baker's, yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, the department is seeking council's view of the matter. It is their decision, obviously. We don't own it. We don't have a management order or anything over it. So it's, yeah, that's the purpose of this consultation, is to go out to the local governments and to ascertain what the council's view is.
Yeah. Yeah. That answers the question. Yep. Thank you. Move on. Sorry. Oh, you've got another question. Sorry, Councillor Big.
I have a question.
Oh, right.
Following on from Councillor Reading's question, in relation to which was also mine, going to be currently leased. If it is currently leased, has the leasing it been advised of the intention of it, and do we have to, or we do not have to?
No, that we've, our advice has always been that any public consultations were responsibility of the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage. So I would assume in this case, again, we'll clarify if they have spoken, if there is indeed a lease property, if they have spoken to the leaseholder about the proposal.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No further questions? Yeah, we'll move right on. We move on to corporate services on page 457. Turn the speaker on again. Item 13.4.1, page 457, accounts and statements of accounts, and there's a recommendation at 459, page 459. Any questions on that one? No. Take that as a tacit no. Item 13.4.2 on page 504, financial statements for the period ending the 30th of April, and there's a recommendation at page 509. Any questions pertaining to that one? Councillor Bigland?
I have one in relation to the Wellington Gordon roundabout. Proposed budget is now 300,000, which we're getting some money from a couple of the other roads. When I read it, I think it started in 2024. November 2024. When did that originally come to council for approval? Because it seems like a very expensive roundabout.
Yeah, I'll take the dates on notice and get back to you on that one. I think that some of the delay on that project was a dual stream project where we did the investigation, design, and now the construction. Grant funded under the black spot funding. It also is complicated by the fact that it sits on the racetrack, the Flying 50s racetrack, so it has to be designed in accordance with their specifications as well. But yeah, definitely I'll get back to you with more information.
Subsequent question, so it's grant funded, the whole lot is obviously not grant funded?
No.
So is the flying 50s that we're accommodating? For the racetrack, who are we accommodating to have to make it safety for? Is it flying 50s?
So the drainage and pavement condition are what the concerns are. The roundabout just needs a smooth annulus around the edge so that we can accommodate the pavement width or the track width. So it's minimal engagement with the track event.
So there's no contribution from, or any way to get contribution from them to fixes?
To contribute to the, I don't know if the conversation's been had, but we can take it up.
We can, although I think the majority of the works are actually required for the integrity of the roundabout.
Drainage,
Yeah.
reconfiguration of the roundabout.
I think in the current situation with the Vintage Vehicle Association, I would say it's probably unlikely that they would contribute. And if we did do it in such a way that then we couldn't accommodate them, I think we would potentially lose the event.
Yeah. Okay, no further questions on that one. We'll move on to item 13.4.3, starting on page 530. This is the fees and charges for 2026-27, and there's a recommendation on page 534. And I think you had something you wanted to say on that one as well.
I did, sorry, just on the previous item, I might just quickly go back to that. So we actually do need to make an amendment and add an additional recommendation to this report. What we've discovered is that in the budget we had allocated for a particular lawnmower with a particular plant number to be disposed of. We've subsequently discovered that the plant number that it relates to is actually a lawnmower that we need to keep, but there is an alternate lawnmower that hasn't been used since 2024 that we would like to dispose of. So we will be including that in the report for next week so that we can actually then put that piece of equipment to auction. We could have done it under delegation, but we don't know whether the value of it will be under $5,000 or not. So to ensure that we're covered, we'll include that with the item next week. So there'll be a minor change relating to the disposal of a lawnmower.
That's in relation to 13.4.2?
That's correct, yes,
okay.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 13.4.3, starting page 530, fees and charges. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Williams, you had a declaration here for fees and charges 2026-27. It's an impartiality. You said you're an executive member of Bakers Hill Progress Association who leased the Bakers Hill Rec Centre and received the fees and charges raised, and it's a not-for-profit association. Thank you very much for that. Okay, rightio, we'll move on to that item. There's a recommendation on page 534. Hang on, sorry, I put it the wrong one. 34, yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Are there any questions? Any questions? Sorry.
I've asked this one before. It's the swimming pool one. I've been thinking about it. I mean, the reason that what I was told before why it's so high is because sometimes you've got to go back 3 or 4 times to visit people to get it correct. Well, why aren't they charged revisit fees? Why does everyone else have to pay for someone who's not doing the job right, looking after that pool right? Why shouldn't there be a basic fee, and then you don't get it right the first time, then you pay again and again for revisits? It's only a thought. I mean,
I think there is a, let me double check. Maybe take that question on note. I'm not really sure. It may be a re-inspection fee, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's vehicle inspection.
Sorry?
You're talking about vehicle inspection. Sorry, you were talking about inspection of the pool.
Okay. If there's no further questions in relation, oh, sorry, Councillor Girac.
Yes, thank you. This is page 539, fines and penalties on cats. recovery admin fee. I noticed that 25, 26, it was, it's set by regulation, and then 26, 27 cost recovery, is that correct? The regulation has changed, or?
We'll take that one on notice and confirm that.
And I've got another one.
Please.
And that's on page 5.4. And it's standard residential general base charges. And it's listing the items underneath. But I do recall that we're charging these fees to everybody, but these collections not applying to everyone, so should we list underneath also those people who are not having the curbside-based collection, what they are eligible for?
Believe we had actually. So you're talking about the rural waste charge, which we've obviously discussed at the recent strategic meeting. Oh, sorry, budget workshop. I believe we did include the rural waste charge as a new charge. Just go back to the report itself, because I'm fairly sure we have included that. Just bear with me for a second.
Yeah, we have included as a separate new charge, and then as part of the rates information that we send out, we just articulate to who's eligible for that and how they go about accessing the
So is this in the fees and charges as well?
It should be, yes, because we have said the introduction of a fee for a replacement facility pass with any previous usage reported in the original pass will be transferred to the new pass, and then it says details of the rural waste charge have been updated and will be charged at the waste management facilities for 26, 27.
What page is that?
That's in the report itself.
Oh, in the report, okay.
Yes.
So it's not actually included, okay.
Yes. And there is just a couple of minor changes we'll make before next week. There was a couple of notes to self that an officer left in there that we will remove from the published version, but we'll highlight those in yellow so you know what they are.
Yep. So the rural waste charges and the fees and charges.
It is.
Yep, on page 5. The part of the one in red.
Yeah. I apologize.
Thank you. Carried unanimously. Right, item 15, I don't believe there's any motions outstanding at the moment. Item 16, urgent business, I don't think there is any. Item 17, oh, sorry, better bring the people back into the gallery. And item 17, closure, which I,